Hi, beautifuls. Welcome back to Women, Wine and Wisdom. I'm Jimmy.
I'm Naomi.
And today we've got something a little different for you. So normally we kick it off with wine, but as you know, the incredible Falaka has got something different for us today. So I'm going to let her introduce something to us.
Yeah. So today, guys, I've made a little cocktail, and it's called Liq'D because it's sweet, but it'll get you licked. So play it safe, guys. Play it safe. But this is our blue mist flavour. So let me know your thoughts.
I definitely will. Don't worry.
Yeah, it looks good though. I like the colour.
Thank you so
that's
much.
a good start. Anyway.
And as our guest speaker is already speaking,
Wow.
let's introduce Herc to you.
But yeah, nice to have me on the show. Thanks for having me, both of you.
Thanks for
I like
coming.
the setting anyway. It's very beautiful. So yeah, thank you. Hopefully I can chuck in my 2 pence, the little knowledge that I have in life and experience. I can add to it, you know. But thanks for having me all the same.
I roll.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to this conversation.
So,
Amazing.
guys,
yeah, it should be good.
You spoke, we listened. So you said you wanted a man to speak on good woman versus right woman, finances and men and women, and complacency.
Yeah.
So we're going to dive right in.
Yes, let's
We're
do
going to dive
it.
right in.
Which I think are great topics, by the way. So well selected.
I am
Yeah,
very
great.
glad because these are topics I love to discuss as well because I feel like everybody likes to say one thing, but in reality it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Very true.
So, Nay, do you have any questions for us? Do we have anything to kind of kick this off to ginger ourselves?
What do you feel like, generally speaking, most men are looking for in a woman?
Is that a question to? All right, straight in. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, let's go for it.
I'm going to pick my drink up
Wow,
first.
it's I think what most men look for in a woman, it's a lot of things. So, but to narrow it down, I think for most men, it comes down to, in my opinion anyway, and from experience also, I think it comes down to respect more importantly than anything else.
I've
So,
heard that a lot.
Yeah.
respect is a big deal for us men, more so nowadays. I think. You look for a good woman, and obviously we're going to discuss
I've got
that
two
in
questions
more
already.
detail.
Oh,
Yeah,
off
yeah.
the bat, I'm like, I've got two questions.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that in more detail. But you look for a good woman, and more importantly, you want to be compatible. You know,
Yeah.
so you look for that compatibility. You look for a woman. Funny enough, we were speaking about it this morning. You look for a woman that shares your values as well. You know,
Naomi, you say this all
yeah.
the
So
time.
Yeah.
shares your values, and your values could be anything. So long as she doesn't have to share it fully, but so long as she shares it with you somewhat, I think is very important. So for me, I think those are the 3 things right now. As a young man growing up in London, for me, it's important. I think, again, is respect, share the same values, and just a good woman, generally, all round. Someone who understands you.
I got 2 things to say about that.
Let's go.
Let's
for
hear
it.
it.
First of all, respect is earned. That's my thing.
I agree with you.
And I feel like a lot of people feel like they should be respected, but they have no value to add. That's number 1.
Yeah.
Number 2, I think the definition of a good woman is so subjective because there are so many good women.
Yeah.
I genuinely feel like it boils down to being the right woman.
Okay.
Ooh. Okay,
Now-
let's delve in that.
Yeah.
Let's delve into that.
And the thing is, good woman versus right woman, I feel like there's very minimal lines between that. So I feel like everyone would have said a good woman.
Yeah.
But what does a good woman mean to you? And when we say good woman to you, I'm talking about the right woman.
It's a good question. So you've thrown 2 questions at me that I'm going to try and answer both of them in the same answer. But a good woman to me comes down to, more importantly for me, it comes down to someone who's willing to accept me for me first and foremost. So,
Okay.
and what I mean by that is, you know, this is who I come as. So if I'm coming into a relationship, I'm coming into the relationship very transparent. I'm saying this is who I am. Accept me for who I am. Whether my past is shady, whether my past is whatever, you know. But this is who I'm coming as. This is the man that I am. Accept me for me. And that for me, if you're a good woman, you will be willing to do that. But I think it goes deeper than that. And what I mean by that is, I think even for a woman to accept you and all of that, you know, to say that, yeah, this is my man and this is the person that I want to be in a relationship. I think you should make sure that you're both compatible.
Yeah.
Okay.
In a broad sense, like you should be compatible to each other. You know, make sure that you want the same things in life, you have the same goals, all of that jazz. But for me, a good woman should, you know, if you want to say that person's a good woman and they're for me, just be transparent and they'll accept you for who you are. More importantly, because you can't escape from that. Who you are is who you are. Like you can't. There's no 2 ways about that. So just find your woman who accepts you for you.
Yeah.
And just say, yeah, you know, I'm happy to rock with you no matter what. And that, to me, is a good woman.
Yeah.
In my
Well,
opinion, anyway.
I was going to say, because a good woman,
Yeah.
and a right woman, do you feel like there's a slight difference between the two? Because I would say a good woman is, you know,
It's all of our friends.
It's all of our friends.
Yeah.
All of my friends are great women.
Yeah.
So good women. Should I
And
say.
some of them are still single.
But exactly that. So then, but then a right woman, I would say, is a woman who is right for you and somebody who fits into the mold of your life and fits in, and you know, you both balance each other out. You're both equally yoked.
Yeah.
Whereas a good woman is kind of quote unquote most women in society.
A generic good woman, basically.
Yeah.
So on the board, she looks after herself.
Yeah.
She looks after you. She's nurturing. She knows
how to cook.
ambitious. She knows how to cook. She knows how to clean. Yeah.
She does.
That's
all
a good
the
woman.
tick box things. Yeah.
So I agree with that. I agree with the latter part of your argument. Maybe the second part of time or the right.
Time's definitely.
There are, for me, yeah, you're right. There's loads of good women around. You know,
Yeah.
it's everyone nowadays. You know, is conscious of what's going on around us somewhat. So yeah, one could argue that, you know, most women are good, but if you're comparing it to the right woman, to me, there's a difference. So you can be good, but you might not necessarily be right for me right now. So
time.
So if you're asking me for the right woman, that again, it comes down to time. So yeah, I could give you an experience in my relationship or whatever. But I think more importantly, the right woman has to fit in your life at the right time. You can have a good woman. I think everyone's good. My mum's good. Even people that I hated before are now good. Like, excuse the French, not hate, but I didn't get along too well with.
Yeah.
They don't get. People grow. So people can be bad at one point and be good later on in life. But I think timing is what, when you say the right woman, it's a time thing for me, in my opinion anyway. So I think, if at 21, the woman that I wanted at 21, I was young and, you know, I wanted to enjoy life. I wanted to go out every single night. And that's what I wanted to do ultimately. So, and a lot of good women came in my life. Like, yo, like chill, like slow down a little. Why would I need to slow down? I'm 21. I want to see the world. I want to date every woman that's beautiful to me. Do you know what I mean? But so those good women in my life at that moment went right for me because I was in a different phase. But if you ask me now that I'm older,
There were still good women.
a good woman, that's right for me. Because, you know, the right woman, now I'm ready to settle. I want better things and I don't want it alone. I want it with someone. So if that good woman comes in my life now, it's the right woman because the time is right. So that to me is what works.
How do you? I was going to say that's really good and that's really interesting. But then how do you then caveat or preempt what's going to happen in a few years' time? Because you might get to in 5 or 10 years' time. Would the woman you're with now still be the right woman for you then? And then could that then lead into being complacent?
Just piggybacking off of that. Yeah. And I always say this to a lot of people. I genuinely feel like there's a lot of men that don't actually marry the woman they love. They marry the woman that's there at the time because at the time, the good woman, they just thought that was a good woman. And they missed the boat with that woman. And she's now married to somebody else, for example. Whereas now it's like, oh, okay, do you know what? I'm actually ready. Because women are more likely to mold towards the man's leadership. So if he says, I'm ready to get married or I'm ready to do this, she's going to be like, oh, okay. Whereas a man is so much less likely to do that. What happens then? Because again, it's like you missed your mark with the woman that you love. Do you still feel like the woman that you have right now is potentially the right woman?
I suppose the question is, did you though? If you're not with that person, then was that the right woman for you at the time? Do you know what I mean? Like, to me, there's no such thing as missing the mark. If the boat sails, it sails. You move on from that. I think there is also a saying that the brighter days are always ahead. You just have to, you know, there's so, like you said, there's so many good women. If the time is right, you meet that woman. But to come back to your point of like, how do you, 5 years time, how would you know that this is the person that you want to be with? In my opinion, you just work towards a relationship. If you say like, I want to be in a relationship with X. Yeah. As an adult, before you even, and this is just fundamentals anyway, I think as you get older, you understand this a bit more. But if I commit, or if I say that I want to be in relation with Miss X, I would have set foundations in place and I would have made sure that, again, our morals, foundations, goals are very similar. It might not be all of it, but you want to ensure that a lot of it are similar and also you have a lot of commonalities.
Yeah.
That way, you're not thinking about, 5 years down the line, is she going to change on me? 10 years down the line, what's going to happen? Am I going to marry this? You have so many commonalities that nothing. It's foundation ultimately, isn't it? Your commonalities stem from foundation.
Yeah.
So I think we have a lot in common. Maybe we like the same music, we like the same films, we like, we have the same silly conversations, we goof together. Like, these are foundations that I instilled in you. They don't go anywhere. So ultimately, no matter what happens, 5 years, you argue, you have disagreements, the foundation is solid and it's common. More importantly, you're bonded together in that regard. So yeah, 5 years down the line, we'll still be kicking it because we have the same jokes. We watch the same films.
Yeah, and I think something we've spoken about as well off camera is connection. Yeah. So I think what you've just spoken about is connection, because if you have a connection with somebody, you can't build that. No. You can build attachment, you can build bonds, but if you're naturally connected to somebody, I don't think that can be built elsewhere. No. So that I can I do agree with.
Yeah, and also just being transparent with your partner, being your complete self.
Like, 100%.
If you can be like you say, a goofball, like, us girls, like, if we can take off our wig.
I don't know about all that,
but ultimately, you want to be able to be transparent. If this 100%. Is somebody that you are planning to build a future with and grow old with, you need to be able to be your complete self. And if you feel like you have to, like, pretend to be who you are or hide certain parts of you, then you need to
ask yourself: is this for me?
Exactly that. That.
Is this who I want to be with? And I think it's very important. And a lot of people don't talk nowadays before they get into a relationship. Everyone thinks it's just, we met in the club, we met wherever, on a holiday, wherever we met. We can just kick it and assume that is going to be a relationship just because we kicked it off nicely in the beginning. But no, it's deeper than that. And
a lot of people are in love with people they don't like.
Yeah.
So it's like, I loved you because I met you on this holiday and we had an amazing time and we have this something that's unique, that's different.
That's actually
I don't actually like you as a person.
But do you know what?
You don't get to know their characteristics.
No, but I wonder, like, with men, are you guys moved more by sight than you are with the woman's kind of mental, like with how she is as a person?
That's a good question. I think when you're younger as a guy or as a man, a young man, you're just thinking here and now. You're not really thinking. It's only a few percentage of men that really, at a very young age, are very mature to say, look, she hasn't got everything that I want in terms of her appearance, her physical, but I can kick it with this person because she's very intelligent, she's ambitious, she supports me, all of that jazz. I think when you're younger, it's all about, does this person look good on my arm? Like, can I show off? Can I show her off to my friends? Can I show her off to my family? Whereas when you're older, it's different. Again, it just comes with age and time. Like, when you're older, it's much different. You're thinking, is this woman really going to give me peace? Like, that's all I want ultimately. Like, looks are important. Yeah, I want someone very beautiful. That's a bonus, icing on the cake.
Is it really a bonus though? I feel like men say that it's a bonus, but I'm not convinced. I genuinely think that it's something that moves men first of all, because they're not even going to speak to you originally if you don't look good. So I would actually counter that, to be honest.
Yeah, but when you say you don't look good, what do you mean? Because everyone's got a different taste.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and it's very subjective. But at the end of the day, there is also a universal pretty, and there is also a universal you look good. So just because somebody is not pretty to me, doesn't mean I can't appreciate that she's beautiful. I just wouldn't look back. Whereas some men might look back. So I genuinely do feel that there are a lot of men that say, "Oh yeah, I want her to be ambitious. I want her to be good looking." But ultimately, they're not even going to speak to you if they don't find you attractive.
Yeah.
I agree. But again, it's the time, it's the young versus old thing, isn't it, as a man? Like, attraction to me nowadays, if my woman's in the... I don't want to be traditional, but I love food. So I'm going to... If attraction to me isn't just my woman being, like, the most beautiful woman in the world, like... I like surprise, like, she'll make me breakfast, for example. That, to me, that's attraction. Right now in my life, that's a big attraction. I'm not worried about how she's looking in the morning, because ultimately I'm already in love with this person. The attraction, if you're talking about attraction, it's not just about the look now. It's more about, is she cool with me when I lose my rag a little bit? Is she okay if I don't cry watching Titanic because she's crying?
Why Titanic?
Like, I don't know, you know what I mean? But is she okay, like, can I game 20? If I'm a gamer, for example, will she let me just game and play online with my friends? And will she just let me do silly stuff and be... That to me is attraction.
Will she let you do you, basically?
Yeah, just be me. Not like, baby, hog the TV for 24 hours. Now get off. I can't feed you. Just ate. Why are you eating again? But I want to eat. But some women are okay with that. And I think it's just small things like that. As a man, when you're getting older, you don't care too much about, like, you do care about the attraction and how they look because you want the most beautiful woman in the world. Of course you do. But it comes down to the small things, like a woman, like it's just being able to be yourself around them and they accepting it fully.
I want to roll off something he just said, because I think it might be interesting for us. And so you spoke about a man crying, for example, while watching Titanic.
Oh God, yeah.
How do you, because obviously, again, everyone knows I love TikTok. So there was a debate on TikTok and it was like, can arousal for a woman exist with sympathy? So if a man is crying, for example, or feels upset, do you think that your woman is still attracted to you physically? Because and this is why I guess some men, not all men, have bad mental health because they don't feel that they can cry to their woman. Yeah. How do you feel, Naomi? I want to, even for you, like, how do you feel about, you know, if a man was to cry to you, how would you feel about that? Because Fresh and Fit podcast basically say that it cannot exist in arousal and sympathy cannot exist together.
I think it's a bit of a difficult one. I think for me personally, I'm fine with my guy crying to me because I feel like if he can't be vulnerable with you, then who can he be vulnerable with? So I think that needs to be, I think that's very important. I think a guy should be able to be vulnerable with you and be able to cry and not feel like he's going to be judged. Yeah, I think home should be a safe space.
100%.
I completely
like
agree.
when it comes to, even when you're playing board games, home is always the safe space. So, you know, that should be the place where he feels that he can be the most vulnerable and be himself and be transparent. So so I say it's fine.
Interesting. Yeah. No, I agree. So I think, again, like I always say this, I think men are, when in the outside world, things are very tough, very harsh, very you have to do this. I mean, I have 3 brothers, I don't have any sisters, so that's for me, it's all I know, really. So I do feel like if you're the right woman for a man, he should be able to be vulnerable with you in that point. Now, don't get me wrong though, because at the end of the day, we are still women and we are naturally attracted to men that are more masculine. Yeah. So I'm not saying it's going to be an everyday thing, but at the same time, you need to be his safe space. That's what I think.
Yeah, 100%.
What do you think?
I agree fully. With both points, actually. I think they're very interesting points. I think for me, it depends on what type of crying we're talking about here. You know, if I'm coming in crying every day, I had a bad day at work, babe. Oh, like, no, she's not gonna. I don't think any woman would accept that.
No.
Some would. I'm exaggerating a little bit here, but I think some would. But it depends on the type of crying. If it's a man crying because he's actually like, you know, feels a type of way about something, or like he's actually mentally like not in the right space, that's very acceptable. And I think as your person or as your partner, she should be able to support you 100% all the way through, and vice versa. It works both ways. I think, you know, if my woman comes to me crying, but to me personally, I don't care.
Yeah,
I'd like one woman to cry on me. Like, it's
if
fine.
your woman doesn't cry to you, there's an issue.
Yeah.
Do you think so? I'm not really a crier, to be fair.
I'm not a crier either, but I feel like if you can't be emotional with your partner, that person's not the right person for you.
No, of course. I think there's a difference in your partner allowing you to feel safe enough to cry and you just being a natural crier.
Yeah, there are two different things.
No, I agree. I was gonna say, like, it depends though. If did they used to cry before and then all of a sudden they don't cry anymore, or is it a case of they just was never emotional like that in the first place? Do you know what I mean? Because if that's how you are, then I expect you to stay the same-ish. But if you're not like, if you're not like that, and then, you know, all of a sudden you don't cry to me anymore, then...
then she's crying to somebody else.
Well, one might argue, but that's a conversation for another day altogether. But, how long we got?
Okay.
I was going to say, are there kind of questions that you ask now that you may not have asked before getting into a relationship?
What are your financial goals?
Please say that louder for all the men that couldn't hear the back. I know the women too, though, but the men really.
Financial goals. I think you need to. It's a conversation that's tough. That you don't need to have it 2 months into the relationship. You don't need to have it 3 months into the relationship. But I think as time goes on, is something that you, again, depending on how ambitious you are in the relationship, both of you. Yeah. Because if you really want to build. Yeah. It's a conversation that you have to have. It's not something you can evade forever. Like, and again, most people don't like talking about it. Most couples don't like talking about it. Why? Because it's one of like the biggest, you know, cause of issues, divorce, etc., in relationships and marriages. But if you're, for me, I think it's financial goals in a relationship is one of the big points that you need to talk about, especially if you want your relationship to grow to the heights that you want it to.
Yeah,
I'm in complete agreement because I said this on the last episode, and I said love doesn't exist without finance, and it's unfortunate. But
it can do, but only in a small percentage. But
in a small percentage. And how long will that relationship last? Is my question. And as a woman, how long will you be attracted to your partner if your financial goals are not aligned? Because again, naturally, even if you don't want it to be that way innately, you will start to just look, you will start to just scan. So innately, do you agree or disagree, Nay? What do you think?
I mean, it's a difficult one.
Yeah, it is difficult.
Really is. It really is.
It's difficult because I think we've spoken about it in one of our previous episodes.
Yeah.
And I think when you...
I'm going to pull up one of the comments as well from that episode because it was really interesting.
Go for it.
It's quite an interesting one because I feel like when you have a partner who is not, who just kind of talks about reaching certain financial goals but doesn't achieve it, you do kind of start to lose a little bit of respect for the person.
And that's going to bring us back to how you said respect in the beginning.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, let me not ask my question because you know me, I will ask questions.
No, go on.
Shoot.
Go on.
Yeah.
Respect and finance for men, do you think they're tied together? And even actually, that's a question for Nay, but then also for you. Do you think that as a man, is your does finance really impact you and how you feel about yourself in a relationship? I'm just gonna pull up that comment.
Does it impact me?
Yeah.
In what regard, though?
In terms of confidence, how you navigate your relationship. Because, for example, if you wanted to do date night, for example, but you don't have the finances, are you the type to be like, okay, let me arrange something internally? Or are you going to be like, I don't have finances, so I can't do it right now? How do you navigate that?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. For me personally, finance is definitely a big part in a relationship. I agree. I agree with that. But in the same breath, this is life. Like anything can happen to anyone at any given moment. You have to appreciate that. And this is what I said before, with a woman, find a woman who understands you or can understand your situation. Yeah. If today, I don't know, I start limping and I can't walk to work and I work in construction, or my arm is fractured and I work in construction, I can't work anymore. Does that mean you lose respect for me when I used to bring all the bread home and we used to talk?
Come on, speak on it.
So, I mean, that's the point I'm making here. So, what, you lose respect for me and also, for the sheer fact that I can't work anymore? Yeah. You never loved me. You never loved me in the first place.
Yeah.
My point exactly.
Yeah.
But if you're saying that, you love me, our foundation, we built a solid foundation together. We had a lot in common. I was grinding to bring the bread home. I was grinding to bring the bread home for me, you, the kids, everyone. Now that my arm is not working, you're telling me, oh, hold on a minute, I'm going to lose respect for you because you can't clean when I'm back from work.
Oh,
Jesus Christ. Like, how does that work? You can't do that.
Yeah.
Impossible. And that's what it is. If you're, again, this is things that we have to talk about before we get in relationships.
Yeah.
Are you
I think
the
that's
one
a really
for
interesting topic. Point, sorry. And I do agree. However, I think the reality is very different to how we would talk about it. Because I think in life, it's unfortunate, but I do think that we would just be like, yeah, that's fine, but for how long a period of time? Yeah. And I think what you've just discussed is it's an extreme case. Let's say, for example, we've spoken about this before as well, but let's say a man loses his job or a woman loses her job. How long do you then wait before these things start to actually impact you personally and in reality? Because one of the comments was very good points, but the reality is very different to the perception.
100%.
And then
100%.
and I think so. It's interesting. It's like I completely agree with that point you made, and I think it's a very valid point. Because again, marriage is in sickness and in health, and unfortunately, but in reality, is that actually the case?
Yeah.
Is that a question to me or?
I mean, I'm just saying.
If you're throwing it open,
I'm just gonna say.
If you're throwing it open, that's fine. For me, I don't care. That's my honest answer. I really do not care. So long as I can support and I can physically work and I can bring money home, I don't care. Like, I'll support you till you find your own. But then again, as a woman, you also have to say, okay, he doesn't care, but do I really want to be in a situation like that forever? If you respect yourself, you'd want to at least pull your weight to, if it's a job that you want or whatever, you need to pull your weight to get to the point where you want to get and support the man that's supporting you. I don't think it's just any sensible woman or any woman that claims to love you wouldn't want you. I'm gonna be working. You're gonna be sat at home for 2 years straight. We don't even have any kids. You're not doing anything. So what are you doing?
Lack of
Well,
respect,
I was
complacency.
Yeah.
It's only going to happen.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I was going to ask, what are your views on current gender roles in a relationship? What do you expect out of your woman, and what does
And
she...
do you think gender
Tricky
roles
position
still
with this.
exist?
Wow, yeah.
Do gender roles still exist?
In 2023.
In 2050?
Dig a little bit deeper on this one, so I can break the question down. So ask me the question again. So you think?
Do you expect traditional roles from your woman in the relationship? Do you expect her to cook and clean while you be the provider, essentially?
I love food. That's all I'm saying. I love food.
So the answer to that is yes.
No, but not quite. So I'm old school. So yeah, I mean, I'm old school. So I think for me, it's a nice to have if my woman can cook, and I can cook, by the way. I can do my own thing. Like,
So you
honestly,
can look after yourself?
I can look after myself.
Okay.
I will not be sitting there waiting for my woman to come home, but I would.
When you say I'll look after myself, does that mean you're going to order? Or you're
No, I'm
genuinely gonna
chefing. I'm
cook?
chefing.
Okay,
I'm
cool.
okay. I'm not bad. I'm not great,
Uh-huh.
but I can do it for myself if she's not
Okay.
available. So I don't necessarily. One of the key things I look for in a woman isn't someone who can cook. It's great, absolutely fantastic. Yes, when in a relationship you can cook, amazing. But it's not something it's not like a tick for me. Like, because you can't cook, then I can't. But it's important. But I suppose it's a difficult one because I'm old school. I want my woman to be traditional, but I wouldn't put pressure on her to be traditional. Like, I wouldn't be like, I expect dinner on the table when I get back. If you're traditional, just do you. It's just a natural thing for someone who's built like that, or a woman who's just traditional, just knows what to do. Just like if a man's traditional, he buy you flowers on Valentine's Day. Like, he's just traditional. And that's just, for me, it becomes not an expectation, but a low one. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, it's a low expectation. So yeah, if my woman cooks for me, great. Like, I'm not gonna wild out if I come in one day and she's like, I haven't done dinner. Like, okay, cool. What do you want us to order something then? Are we gonna cook now? Have we got time to cook? Like, you talk about it. It's not. Yeah, for me, it's not. Traditional is nice, yes, but it's not like a high expectation of mine. Okay. I'm okay with it if like you're not that. I'm okay personally anyway. But I know everyone's got their own views on this. But for me, it's absolutely fine. Like, but I still love food. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
So basically, he's trying to say he's traditional, but not traditional at the same time. I feel like, now, are you traditional? Like, what's your expectation?
I think the reality is, in 2023, being traditional as a woman is just not. It's not impossible, but I just feel like it's not as common. So
yeah. And when you say not as common, elaborate.
So I go to work.
Yeah.
I work 5 days a week.
Yeah.
9 to 5.
Yeah.
And so the reality is, even if I want to be home cooking and making sure you've got food ready for when you come back from work, the reality is I can't do that because I'm going to work just as much as you are, bringing in money just as much as you are. So how can you expect that of me when I can't give it 100%?
Yeah, I don't feel like, and sorry to interrupt you, but I feel like you can still have traditional roles even with the woman going to work, because at the end of it, the man can still be the provider and provide more money than the woman does, and the woman can still make sure she's, for example, meal prepping on Sunday or making sure there's food in the house.
But it's not the same. You're not doing
be.
it at 100%. You can't have a career woman and a traditional woman at 100%. It doesn't work. Then one has to give or take. So I can definitely meal prep. I can meal prep. Yeah. But then you're not getting hot. I'm going to have to tell you on my way home from work, go and warm up the rice and stew that's in the fridge.
Yeah. But
some men don't want that.
I can agree to that. But don't you think that's an adaptation with time? So if it was like 1960s, for example, then yeah, you might expect to have a hot meal when you're home. But now that we're both going to work, the expectation has to be slightly different. But those gender roles can still exist within that relationship regardless, I think.
I think it's more of a balance. I think if I'm going to work and you are going to work, then I expect you to be able to boil rice. If I say boil rice and I'll come home and make stew.
Right,
so I feel like it needs to be more, it's more shared roles. It's more conjugal roles.
So you'd happily exist in a non-traditional relationship, is what you're saying?
I think it's not that I would happily exist. I mean, ideally, I would probably prefer, I think most women would probably prefer. Actually, I can't speak for all. Yeah. I think like...
You can, but yeah.
yeah. Because ultimately, I think some women also like the independence and having their own.
Yeah. Big facts, by the way.
And I think that's partly me. Like, I would love the independence. I think when I start having kids, I would like the ability to be at home more.
What does that rely on?
The man providing more,
Exactly.
of course.
Cool. So I'm just throwing it out.
No, but I know that for myself.
Yeah.
I know, like, when I start having kids, I would love the ability to be able to choose whether or not I want to go to work or not, and be able to stay at home and nurture. Because as a woman, that's what I do. You know, that's what I should be doing. And I'm not saying that women that don't have children shouldn't, but or can't or anything like that. But I would prefer to be at home and be able to nurture.
Yeah, but at the same time, you're still a career woman.
But I'm still a career woman. I'm still very much an ambitious person. And so I still want to have my own. Yeah. But I think, you know, if my husband is going to work and it's not enough to cover all our expenses and I have to go to work, well, then we're going to have to share some roles. Maybe you're going to have to drop the kids to school some days and then I'll drop the kids to school some days. Yeah. And so it becomes a shared responsibility.
No, I can agree to that.
Sounds good, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that's the actual reality for most women, though, but I can agree to that because I
mean, I see it with some of my friends. Like,
when I say, as in, it's by force, though. It's not because it's their
It's
want.
not a choice. Yeah.
Yeah. So for example, like I completely agree with you because I'm an ambitious person as well. I love being independent. I love having my own thing. But at the same time, I don't want to be having to be forced to go back to work because I have to.
Yeah.
I think it's different. So for me, there needs to be an element of I can relax because I know you got this. Even if it's just for a short period of time until we have to resume sharing those roles. I have no issues half funding or half sharing those roles. At the same time, I still want to be able to do what I am supposed to. I want to say supposed in speech marks or speech marks because it's not correct for everybody. But as a woman, while you go and do what you're supposed to do.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. So It's, I think it's interesting. And I feel like a lot of women are forced to go back to work. Not because they want to, though, but because they haven't got a choice.
Yeah. And I've heard about a woman who's been in that position. She was quite high up in a bank. And her husband was doing a job that wasn't enough to cover the mortgage. And so she had to return after having their second or third, I can't remember. But she had to return back to work. And the child was like 3 months, between 3 and 6 months old. But she had no choice but to do it. Yeah. And the father took the responsibility of nurturing the child.
Yeah. How would you feel about a house husband? How would you feel about being a house husband?
Why are you putting me on the spot like this again?
Do you know? It's just you know.
We gave you a little break there.
I get a little idea, and I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah. Ask the question again.
How would you feel about being a house husband? And Nay, would you want a house husband?
No.
Okay, cool. I thought we were going to be like, but no.
I would prefer not.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that personally, only because of my own personality and character. Like, I don't know how I'd feel about that. But again, if it's a situation where I had to be that, again, for the good of the collective, when I say collective, the family, then okay, I'll do it. I'll play my part, no problem, because I want the relationship, marriage, family to flourish. That's my goal. Like, when you're in when you get together and have kids and all of that is that the goal is for all of you. It's not just, it's not about me, it's not about you, it's not even about just the kids, it's about all of us collectively. So if I have to be a house husband to, make sure everything ticks, then I guess I'll accept my role. But as an ambitious man that I am, or I don't know how I'd feel. I don't know if I'll be entirely comfortable about that. If it's temporarily, yeah, of course.
I think a lot of men would struggle.
Yeah, I couldn't sit there, be a house husband. Again, for how long? I don't know if I could do it. But again, I'll repeat: if it's for the good of the collective, and I have to do it temporarily, then
I think the key word that you keep saying is temporary.
Yeah, because I'm too ambitious to. I couldn't permanently do it. No.